Hello, and thanks so much for tuning in for Town Meeting TV's coverage of primary elections 2026. My name is Marcus Serta, and I'm grateful to be here because this program is part of a series of candidate forums that is being hosted by Town Meeting TV in advance of the primary elections coming up on Tuesday, August 11th, 2026. And these forums are made possible by Town Meeting TV's generous underwriting partners, and we can't thank them enough. You can find all of our forums at cctv.org/primary or on Town Meeting TV's YouTube channel, where of course you can get auto-generated captions if you need them. And if you're tuning in on YouTube, please click that subscribe button because it's your way to stay tuned into local democracy this election season. On tonight's program, we're going to hear from 4 candidates running for High Bailiff of Chittenden County in the Democratic primary. Those candidates are Amy Payne, Helene Rappaport, who goes by Lainey, Michael Roberts, who goes by Mikey, and Augustus Barkham, who goes as Gus. Also, one of the candidates, Paul McManus, was invited to tonight's forum, but declined tonight's invitation. So we have our other 4 candidates, and they will be talking to you about the role and what they're going to bring to that role if elected. So we have prepared a list of questions for all of you, and you will have 90 seconds to answer each question. Rebuttals will be allowed, but only if a candidate is named specifically. And in that particular case, the candidate will have 30 seconds to respond. And for those tuning in live, thank you so much, and we hope that you will call in with your questions. You can call 802-862-3966, and if you call in, we're going to do our best to prioritize your questions, and we are screening calls to ensure that questions are not repeated, and we ask that you share your name, the town you live in, and of course, direct your question to all the candidates, not to one particular candidate. So thank you all so much for being here, and let's get started with some opening statements, and let's start with Amy.
Okay, thanks. I'm Amy Payne, and alongside these wonderful people, I'm running for High Bailiff. I'm running for 3 reasons. The first is that this position was originally created for a civilian, and it was created for a civilian for a reason. The second is that I have the skills to see the department through the unlikely and what would be very unfortunate occurrence of the losing of their sheriff. The third reason is that High Bailiff can be more than ceremonial. It hasn't been yet, but it can be more than a way to build name recognition, more than a way to, as a path to sheriff. I think that it can be used like any big title as something for good. I would like to be High Bailiff in order to create bridge building and community outreach between the Sheriff's Department and the public. I think we all need and deserve that.
Thank you, Amy. Next up, Lainey.
Hi, I'm running for High Bailiff because I have been serving the people of Burlington and Chittenden County for many years. I'm a Justice of the Peace and Notary, Commissioner and was Chair of the Cemetery Board in Burlington. I have played many roles and performed many different tasks. I have received the City Award, the Blumenthal Award, and proclamation for being the Vermont Frog Lady. And I also taught school in many schools in Chittenden County. And I have a bachelor's degree in education, and I believe I would be good because I like serving the people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mikey.
Good evening. I'm Mikey Roberts. I'm running for Chittenden County High Bailiff because I believe public service should be grounded in integrity, accountability, and independence. I served in the United States Marine Corps. I earned a degree in criminal justice and spent roughly a decade in loss prevention management. I founded a nonprofit here in Vermont serving veterans and trauma survivors. The High Bailiff doesn't have daily responsibilities, but when the office is needed, the duties are serious. Chittenden County deserves someone who understands the rule of law, respects the limited authority of the position, and is prepared to act fairly and independently. If elected, I would not use this office to pursue political agenda. I would take its statutory responsibilities seriously, remain independent from the sheriff's office, and serve the public with sound judgment and respect for a due process. I'd be honored to earn your vote.
Excellent. Gus.
Hi, my name is Gus Barkham, and I'm 18 years old. I was born and raised in Burlington, Vermont, and I'm running for High Bailiff because I believe deeply in fresh, young voices in politics. I also believe that every Vermonter has the right to a High Bailiff. It's in our Constitution, and therefore you should know who they are, you should know what they do, you should know where to find them. I believe that in a time when the relationship between civil administration, law enforcement, and citizens is so polarized, you should be able to know who your accountable oversight is for those people, and you should have a way to communicate with them, a way to talk to them, and a way to get in touch with that administration and the law enforcement officials in your community. It matters who you elect, it matters who represents your community, because it can change the reputation of your county, your town, your city, and so who you elect matters deeply.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Getting to one of our first questions, and this question is going to go to Lainey. So, Lainey, here's your question. This deals with the history of the role of High Bailiff. The High Bailiff position was established in 1797, and since the formation of the Vermont State Police in 1947, the High Bailiff has no comparable position in any other state in the country. What is your understanding of the role, and how has it served constituents historically?
Okay, my understanding of the role is that the High Bailiff would arrest the sheriff, but as I've learned, it's the state troopers that arrest the sheriff. And I don't know if the High Bailiff goes along with them or not, because I haven't ever seen it happen, so I have no clue. I just think that I've been a justice of peace, and I've gone out and delivered ballots and have helped the people for many years, that I would just love to be in the position of being a High Bailiff.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Mikey.
Yes, the High Bailiff is an unusual Vermont office with roots dating back to the 18th century. Although it once was included in the Vermont Constitution, it has been a statutory office since the constitutional change of 1974. Historically, the position has provided a safeguard for situations in which the sheriff is legally unable or disqualified to perform certain duties. It creates an independent person who may serve legal processes when the sheriff cannot, or under very limited circumstances, It creates an independent person who may serve legal processes when the sheriff cannot, and under very limited circumstances, temporarily exercise the sheriff's function. It does not exist to compete with the sheriff or supervise the department on a daily basis. Its value is to preserve continuity and accountability when extraordinary situations arise. The office, thank you.
No, thanks, Mikey. Gus.
The High Bailiff role has historically been used for citizens to have a safeguard against the sheriff. If the sheriff's office were to become corrupt, do something wrong, that was historically the use for it. And I think that we can sort of extrapolate that and use it for today's time. And we can see that the High Bailiff could be used for citizens to come to the High Bailiff and say, this is an issue I'm having, this is an issue I had, and I want someone to hear it, I want someone to take it up with someone, and I want it to be fixed. And that's what I would aim to do as a High Bailiff. I would have an email that'd be open for anyone to hear, anyone to write in responses to me. I would see those responses, and I would want to foster a good relationship with the sheriff, regardless of who it is. And therefore, I would go to them, and I would make the best decisions possible for the people of Chittenden County.
Excellent. Thank you. Amy.
So the public elects the High Bailiff, and that makes the public the High Bailiff's constituency. I think that historically, the High Bailiff hasn't done much for its constituency, but that's not the fault of the High Bailiff. That's the limitation of the role. If the High Bailiff is viewed by the sheriff as a civilian asset, then the sheriff's department, too, could be a constituency for the High Bailiff. And if the sheriff wanted to work with the High Bailiff to create connections with the public, then I can't imagine a better outcome for public safety and for both constituencies. Because of the way it's currently constructed, High Bailiff has instead become a role for a member of law enforcement. It's become often an extension of the sheriff's department that provides no civilian voice, no civilian perspective or oversight. It doesn't serve the public who voted it in. What I've experienced as I talk to constituents is a hunger for change, a hunger for community, a hunger for the sense of being safe when around people in uniform, and the public wants to believe that our folks in uniform are working on behalf of the entire community.
Thank you all so much for those responses. Next question goes along with the last one, but maybe this will give you an opportunity to dive a little bit deeper. Thinking about the role of High Bailiff, the Vermont statutes list that the High Bailiff may serve writs which the sheriff, if the sheriff is incompetent to serve, then the functions of the sheriff shall be exercised by the High Bailiff until the sheriff is released from confinement or one is appointed or sworn into office. So the question is, how would you use this role, given the powers listed above, to serve the constituents? And we'll start with Mikey.
Absolutely. Yes, I would use those powers carefully, narrowly, and only when Vermont law requires or authorizes me to do so. If the sheriff were ever unable to serve a particular writ because of the legal conflict or disqualification, I would make sure the process was carried out lawfully, impartially, and without unnecessary delay. If I were ever required to temporarily exercise the functions of the sheriff, my priorities would be to the continuity, stability, and public trust. I would work with the department leaders, county officials, and appropriate legal counsel to ensure the essential operations continued safely and lawfully. I would not treat a temporary assignment as an opportunity to introduce personal policy agenda. Significant long-term changes should be made by the duly elected sheriff. My role would be to preserve the integrity of the office until the lawful process of permanent leadership was completed.
Thank you so much. Gus.
Yeah, and so there's a small asterisk here for the question. Within that time that the sheriff becomes incapacitated or unable to serve, the governor will then receive a phone call, and the governor will then make the decision, most likely within the hour, for who the next sheriff will be. And so if I'm elected, and during that small period where I could become the sheriff, where I am the sheriff for that small period of time, within that hour, I must make a judgment call. I will talk to those in the sheriff's office. I will talk to law enforcement. I will talk to my community members, local leaders, and I will make the best decision possible for the people of Chittenden County.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Gus. Amy.
To your point, when Dave Silberman in Addison County got the phone call, he was High Bailiff for 7 hours. A sheriff being arrested or becoming incapacitated is a really serious thing. It's serious for the public, and it's a crisis for the department. 6 Vermont sheriffs have had this experience over the last 6 years. It leaves the public in need of answers, and it requires a person who's comfortable speaking in public to reporters, to legal officials, to the public. I have a lot of experience speaking in public, extemporaneously and prepared. I'm comfortable in public in uncomfortable settings, and I commit to transparency, sharing what happened, what is known, and what will unfold as is legally allowed. The situation also requires the High Bailiff be in communication with the governor. Finally, the situation leaves the department unexpectedly without a leader. And to do that crisis management is experience I have as well.
Thank you. Lady.
Hi. Well, my experience is that I'm out there, and I'm a very political person, not one party or another, but I believe that the people have the right to know what's going on, and I would probably have immediate TV coverage or radio coverage, and I'm sure that Whoever the governor is will probably appoint somebody, probably pronto, because we're Chittenden County and it's a big county. So my moment of fame might not be very long, but I would do a good job at being sheriff for an hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours, whatever it takes. Thank you.
Thank you, Lanny. All right, moving on and talking about, again, the role in itself, and this occasionally comes up. I've had conversations myself with some people trying to understand this role, and this is a common question that I hear, which is, should the High Bailiff have a law enforcement or legal background? If not, what qualifications do you think are most important to this position? So we'll start with Gus.
Yes, thank you for the question, Marcus. The High Bailiff, I do not believe, has to have a law enforcement background, much as what Amy Payne said earlier, that the High Bailiff, if put in that situation, just needs to be able to talk to the press and be able to work through that small period of time in which they are the sheriff. Therefore, you do not need law enforcement background, and actually inherently, it should be a role for the citizen. It should be a role to support the people of whatever, of this county that you're a part of. You should be. And if you're a law enforcement official who's part of the sheriff's office, there could be a situation where you're put in between your coworkers, your colleagues, and the people that you're supposed to be supporting. And therefore, I think that they could clash.
Excellent. Thank you. Amy.
Great. I think that High Bailiff needs 4 things. It needs management experience to see the department through to the point of getting a new leader. I think it needs the ability to interface with the public in a professional manner. I think it needs integrity and courage, because going through a time like that requires both. And finally, if it's going to be more than a ceremonial position, High Bailiff needs the skills and the dedication to do community outreach and bridge building, the ability to bring people together. The High Bailiff needs to believe in the power of coming together and have the skills to make it happen.
Thank you. Laney.
Okay. I don't think that you need a degree or a law enforcement background to be High Bailiff. I do think if you have an education, that would help, and if you have the experience and knowledge through the years of living in Chittenden County, that you are there to benefit the people and to protect the people and make sure everybody's safe. And I believe that I can do that, and I believe that I'm a good public servant and a public speaker too. Thank you.
Thank you, Laney. Mikey.
All right. Law enforcement and legal background can certainly be helpful, but I don't believe that's the only qualifications that matter. The High Bailiff needs a sound understanding of the legal system, due process, the limits of this office, and the responsibility involved in exercising public authority. It's just as important are integrity, independence, judgment, and the willingness to speak to appropriate legal guidance rather than act upon beyond the office's authority. I do not have a traditional law enforcement career. My background includes service in the Marine Corps, an associate's degree in criminal justice, and a decade of loss prevention management. In that work, I regularly interacted with law enforcement, conducted investigations, preserved evidence, and testified in court. I would bring relevant experience, but also the humility to recognize the limits of the position and act carefully and impartially.
Excellent. Thank you, Mikey. Talking about the community role for this particular role, several candidates have suggested the High Bailiff could serve as a bridge between citizens and law enforcement. So I'd like to know from each one of you, what does this look like in practice? And is it an appropriate use of an unpaid, largely ceremonial office? Amy, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. I think that's you and me, right, Gus, talking about this. I love the question because what's inappropriate about building community and using a position to do that, especially in this time we're in, where what we're experiencing is one mode of division after another. It does mean building relationships within the sheriff's department so that the sheriff's department can trust the high bailiff to walk with them through the community outreach. It also means holding the public's trust so that the public understands and witnesses that opportunities are being created for this dialogue. Community outreach takes strategic thinking and planning. It doesn't happen by accident. It's a lot of work. I have experienced both. I had an intense business experience, which is a funny way to put it, but I was national director of 2 different positions in higher ed publishing, and I did such bridge building because it was a time of acquisition where empires were coming together and we were needing to build new ways of being. And then in teaching, when you have a classroom and you're dedicated to creating a safe space, that too requires building community.
Thank you. Lainey.
I have never seen a high bailiff do this bridging experience, so this is all new. And I don't believe you need an education for that. I believe that it's something that you're there to protect and to serve the people, and I believe that that's the role that I would take as high bailiff. And I have plenty of education and experience. I have been in the public highs for 50 years in Vermont, so I think that I would do a good job as high bailiff.
Thank you, Lainey. Mikey.
I love this question. I absolutely adore and love this question. I believe every elected official should be accessible and willing to listen. But we should be careful not to invent powers or responsibilities that legislature had not assigned to this office. The High Bailiff is not an ombudsman, civilian review board, or alternative law enforcement agency. I would not want to mislead residents into believing I had authorities I do not have. That said, I remain available to constituents, explain the role honestly, and help direct people towards the appropriate agencies or processes when possible. My nonprofit work has taught me the importance of listening, communicating clearly, and connecting people with resources. So yes, the High Bailiff can foster understanding and public trust, but that work must maintain constant with the limited statutory nature of the office and should not present a formal oversight authority the law does not provide.
Thank you. Gus.
Yeah, thank you. So I touched on this previously. I believe that this act of bridging between law enforcement or civil administration and residents, citizens, is crucial to the role. Actually, it's a main part of the role of High Bailiff. And so I said it earlier, I want to be readily available for anyone to come to me with questions, and I want to be on the side of the people of Chittenden County. With that being said, I want to have a good bond and relationship with either sheriff, regardless of who wins. I want to have a good bond, a good relationship, and be able to communicate with them effectively. However, I will always be on the side of the people of Chittenden County, and I will always make decisions in there for them, for the people.
Thank you so much, Gus. All right, let's talk a little bit about accountability in this particular role. If the High Bailiff received credible complaints about the conduct of the Chittenden County Sheriff, what authority does the office actually have to act, and what would you do? We're going to start with Lainey.
Well, the way I see it is the High Bailiff is not responsible for investigating, but I would take it up with whoever is higher up or more apt to talk to, maybe even talk to the governor or state trooper or whoever I need to talk to protect the people in times of crisis. And that's about it.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Mikey.
Yes, the High Bailiff does not have broad authority to investigate, discipline, or supervise the sheriff simply because a complaint was made. It is important to be honest about the limitations. My responsibility would be to listen, document the information appropriately, determine whether the matters fall within my actual statutory duties of High Bailiff. If it did not, I would direct the complainant towards the agency or legal process with the proper jurisdiction, which could depend on the nature of the allegation. I would not conduct an unauthorized investigation, make public accusations, or imply that the office has powers it does not possess. With the circumstances, if the circumstances did activate a special legal responsibility of the High Bailiff, I would follow Vermont law, consult appropriate counsel, preserve due process, and act independently. Accountability requires action when authority exists, but it also requires respect for limited legal when it does not.
Thank you so much. All right. Talking about some support.
I didn't answer that.
Oh, sorry. My
You're leaving
apologies,
both of
Gus.
us
That's right.
out.
I know. My apologies.
No worries.
Trying to track it all, but anyway, Gus, please go ahead.
There's so many high bailiffs right
So I touched on this previously. If I had a credible complaint from a resident, a citizen of one of the towns of Chittenden County, I would go and I would communicate with the sheriff and I would have a conversation and I would see what's going on, if there's merit to the complaint, if something can be fixed easily. And if I was served a writ of arrest from a judge, I would go and perform the duties of the High Bailiff by the side of the state troopers. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Amy, please.
So it's really interesting, right? Because it's a position that sheriff has no boss, high bailiff has no boss. So a sheriff can't be fired. A sheriff can be arrested, a sheriff can be pressed to leave, but it can't be made to quit. However, considering some of the really serious crimes that recent sheriffs have been accused of, if I heard that something like that was happening, it all depends on the circumstance. My first impulse would be to go to the sheriff, but if it was sexual abuse, that might be harder to do. You can talk within the department. The governor exists. There are prosecutors. So it's a hard question to answer because it's circumstantial, but I think that we can't be silent if some of the things that have been going on go on.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right. Now moving on to the next question. So want to talk about kind of the party support and how this works for this particular role. So talking about yourself, what is setting you apart, or what, looking across the board of your candidates that you're challenging for this role, what sets you apart from the other candidates as you're seeking this particular position? And so, Mikey, you get to go first.
Great. I respect anyone willing to run for an unpaid office and serve this community. What distinguishes me is the combination of my experience and the way that I understand this role. I served in the United States Marine Corps, where I learned that authority comes with responsibility. I have a criminal justice degree and a decade of investigative management experience in loss prevention. Experience working with law enforcement in the courts and years of leadership in business as a business owner and a nonprofit founder. I would approach this office as a genuinely limited and independent position. I'm not running to expand its authority, build a political platform, or use it as a path into the sheriff's office. I'm running because the office should be filled by someone prepared to act with integrity, sound judgment, and respect for the law, if ever needed.
Thank you. Gus.
So what sets me apart from my other candidates is all of us are very able to fill the job, except I offer a new voice, and I have an entire network of younger people who want to get into the political scene. They don't know how to, and I can introduce them to it. I can support them in establishing themselves, and I can support them in having a voice about their community, and that's especially what sets me apart. I can establish these younger voters into having a voice, having something to think about when it comes to the political world, and that's exactly what sets me apart.
Thank you. Amy.
Awesome. Being on the other end of the age spectrum, life's interesting in the way that it brings your past experiences together to support a position that you didn't think you would be running for. I have the kind of management experience seeing teams and the people around them through really rough leadership absences and dismissals. I've done a lot of community building, and I know I can do the job as it exists, and I'm actually dedicated to doing the job as it could be. I think that our democracy depends on us finding ways to reestablish community in a time where it's being broken. And I have young friends, so I just don't want you to pigeonhole me.
Thank you. Lainey.
Hi. Like I said, I'm Justice of Peace and Notary. I served on the Restorative Justice Board. I was a volunteer with Mercy Connection and have met a lot of the people in law enforcement. I have taught school for many years in all ages and all grades. I have worn many hats in Burlington and throughout my life, and I feel that I'm comfortable and confident that I could serve as High Bailiff. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, we had a call on the line. It looks like it is gone. I just want to double check with the crew. Are we? It looks like it's dark, so I just want to double check. Okay, fantastic. All right, we're going to move on to the next question. But please, look, if anyone has a question, you can call in with them. Let me get the phone number here real quick so that I can remind you. Oh, yeah, 802-862-3966. Please feel free to call in with your questions. We would love to have you share them directly with the candidates. Please be ready to share your name, the community you live in, and of course, direct your question to all the candidates. All right. This question is about the independence of this role. And I've heard some bit of that from each one of you at some point tonight, but maybe we can go a little bit further. The High Bailiff exists in part to provide civilian oversight and accountability for the sheriff. How do you think about maintaining independence from the sheriff's office, and would you accept endorsements or support from the current Chittenden County Sheriff or candidates for that office? So, coming around to Gus, go first.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I would not accept an endorsement from any of the sheriff candidates. I believe the High Bailiff inherently should not be connected, especially before anyone wins the race, sheriff or High Bailiff. I believe that they should not be affiliated at all, because I talked about it earlier. I mean, if you're a law enforcement official or you're connected with the sheriff in a way, and you're put in between the people you're supposed to serve and the people that's your good friend that you ran with, if it's a borderline call, what are you going to do? What choice are you going to make? And I don't believe we should be putting a High Bailiff in this situation to do that.
Amy.
So I think an endorsement from either candidate shows that they believe both in my character and in my platform. And I actually would accept an endorsement from both of them if that's what they wanted to do. An endorsement from a candidate does not imply that my integrity is at stake or that I can't be objective in doing the job. I did endorse Kevin's platform because I was deeply, deeply interested in the desire to reduce eviction rates. And that's something that I think the Sheriff's Department can do in addition to what it already does. But that doesn't mean I would turn a blind eye if things went awry in that department. The people that I've worked with over the years have come to expect me to speak the truth, to tell them what's happening, to say things that are hard, and to be supportive. And none of that changes with an endorsement.
Excellent. Lainey.
Hi. I did not campaign for or ask for donations or collections on this campaign. I am a Justice of Peace, and this is my busy time of the year. I'm out marrying people and doing notary work, but I believe that with my reputation and my people knowing who I am and people that don't know who I am, I have worked with young communities to older adults, and I have done a really good job serving Burlington and Chittenden County, and I believe I would be good at being High Bailiff. Thank you.
Thanks, Lainey. Mikey.
Maintaining independence is central to my campaign. I am not endorsing either sheriff, nor would I accept any endorsement from either sheriff. My responsibilities would be to the law and the people of Chittenden County, not to the sheriff, a candidate, or a political faction, or a personal relationship. Because of that, I am not seeking or accept a formal campaign endorsement from the current sheriff or either candidate for sheriff. Individual citizens are free to support whichever candidate they choose. But I would not want to institutional or a campaign relationship with that could reasonably create question about my independence.
Thank you, Mikey. Appreciate it. All right, well, that gets through my list of questions, but this brings us to some closing comments from each one of you. And so I'm going to give you 30 seconds to go ahead and make your final pitch to the voters. So please take a moment and do that. And we're going to start, of course, with Amy.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for your time. I'll wait till they come back to me.
Oh, you're good.
Am I there? Okay.
Okay.
So thank you for your time. You have a big decision ahead of you. The vote needs to happen on August 11th. We're all running as Democrats. I would love to be your high bailiff. I would serve with integrity. I would be objective. I would do the job as it's assigned. And I would hope to work with either sheriff to do the added responsibility of community outreach and bridge building. Thanks.
Thank you. Lainey.
I look forward to being a high bailiff and serving the people of Chittenden County. And I feel that I am educated enough to do a good job, and I'm hoping that people will support me and that I'll just be there honestly to serve the people of Chittenden County. Thank you.
Thank you. Mikey.
Yes, the high bailiff may be called upon rarely, but that makes the character of and judgment of the person holding the office no less important. I'm not running for power, a paycheck, or a political stepping stone. I'm not running to provide independent. I am running to provide responsible and service to the Chittenden County if ever needed. I would bring integrity, accountability, sound judgment, and respect for the limits of the law of this office. I would be honored to earn your vote on August 11th.
Thank you so much. Gus.
There's no greater honor than being bestowed the trust of the people of your community. And so if you liked what you heard out of me today, the name on the ballot is Augustus Barkham and not Gus. So just make sure you go on August 11th and vote. And I want to thank everyone for coming out here today. And I want to thank you, Marcus, for moderating. So
Yeah,
thank you,
so
guys.
much.
Thank
Thanks,
you so
Marcus.
much. No, I appreciate that. Thank you for putting up in my debut, but best of luck to all
So
of you.
good.
And thank you for coming out. Thank you all so much for watching and tuning into Town Meeting TV's ongoing coverage of local candidates, budgets, and of course ballot items. That's coming up on August 11th, 2026, and we hope you will show up for your votes in your municipalities. You can find more forums like this one at cctv.org/primary or on Town Meeting TV's YouTube channel. Remember, mash that subscribe button. Don't forget to also cast your ballot again on Town Meeting Day on or before August 11th. So see your municipal city clerk or town clerk in order to get more information if you need it, but please get out and vote on August 11th. Then, of course, remember to be back here on Town Meeting TV for the primary results recap show. That's going to be happening on August 12th at 4 p.m., and we hope you'll be here to hear all the results from the races. And of course, again, contact your local municipal clerk to find out how to obtain a ballot and of course, register to vote. And don't forget that here in Vermont, you can register the day of voting. So thank you so much for watching and thank you for sharing Town Meeting TV. Thank you to the candidates for coming out
Thank
today.
you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.